All right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. Got a whole bunch of good news stuff for you today. And one thing I want to talk about just before we talk about the main story is my haircut. Everybody's commenting on it and asking why. Let me just put it to rest. Why? One, because I live in Arizona and it's super hot. And two, it was kind of a life experiment. I just didn't cut my hair for a few years and I don't know, wanted to see what it was like. Let me just tell you, it's a pain. Every time you bend over, you just can't see. You got a lot of brushing to do. Also, I ride a motorcycle. I got an R1. I love it. But when you go riding, even if you put your hair up, when you're done, you have about 10 minutes of detangling in front of you. It's really just a pain. And I almost feel bad for women, motivating them to keep long hair because it's a pain, to say the least. But let's get right into it. Dark web alleged Silk Road conspirator handed to U.S. authorities. So more Silk Road, and his sentence is unbelievable. So dark web alleged Silk Road conspirator Gary Davis of Ireland agreed recently to be extradited to the United States. Once on U.S. soil, he's going to face charges levied against him 5 years ago in connection with the eventual conviction of Ross Ulbricht. Mr. Davis should be convicted, would receive a life sentence for helping out with the Silk Road. So the United States government hates the Silk Road, getting life sentences, which is really horrible because it's just like I've seen murderers, there's bank robbers, this, that, and the other thing that don't even receive a life sentence. Armed robbers, this, that, and the other thing, murderers, to some degree rapists. They don't get a life sentence, and so this is just crazy. Not that I really support the Silk Road fully. I believe you should be able to, if you want to send things across the mail, go ahead. But again, sending the wrong thing, like sending drugs across the mail, it's just a really bad idea. But for a life sentence for that, I don't know about that. So he essentially turned himself in. He agreed to be extradited, and I don't know if he was arrested in Ireland by the Irish government or what. But you know what? If I was in his case and I knew I was going to receive a life sentence, you might as well just run for the rest of your life. Like you might as well try. I mean, if you know you're going to get a life sentence. So a visibly upset Roger Revere, if I can never say his name right. It's Ver to me, but I know it's like Veer or something. Took his personal YouTube channel wearing a freeross.org t-shirt. So this is Gary Davis here. He was arrested. Okay, so indeed, he was arrested by Irish law enforcement after U.S. Judge James C. Francis IV. Oh, the fourth one. He's the worst one. The third one, he was okay. But the Francis IV, man, he's just nasty. Of the United States District Court for Southern District of New York outlined 3 counts of indictment: conspiracy to distribute narcotics, conspiracy to commit computer hacking, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. So again, all crimes that you probably shouldn't have been a part of in the first place. Like, if you're making a dark web website where you're sending narcotics and, basically money laundering, you should probably not do that. I'm just saying there's a reason why people smuggle drugs not through the United States mail. You know what I mean? And then at the bottom of this, if you guys want to watch it, it's my story of being tortured in prison by Roger Revere. And you know what? I honestly, I don't feel like he was really tortured. Basically, Roger Revere was arrested for selling firecrackers on eBay, I think in like 2002 or 2003, one of the years. I think he says it in the video. I can't remember. I watched like 3/4 of the video and I just couldn't watch anymore. And so he tells his story of how he went to prison and how he put on the prison boots that they gave him. Even though I don't even think they give you boots in prison. I think they give you like Crocs. But either way, maybe that was a while ago and they didn't exist or something. I'm not sure. But either way, and he said that when he was being patted down by a CO, they basically set him up with a shank, planted it on him and started freaking him out and made him cry because he thought he was going to get 2 more years in prison because of this shank that he did not make. And I totally believe Roger Revere that he didn't make the shank because, come on, it's Roger Revere. And he was in for fireworks. There's no reason to make a shank. But it's not really being tortured. I mean, I guess that's wrong of the CEOs, the COs, the corrections officers, to do that, and to, convince him that he might be getting 2 years for that. I guess that would freak me out a little bit too. If I was already in prison for a year for just simply selling fireworks on eBay when they actually had a fireworks section back then, but you needed a license to do it and he didn't have one, and they sent him to prison for a year. So honestly, I think he got way too much prison time, even just a year for doing that. I think he probably should have got like probation or something like that, and maybe like being banned from eBay or something, by the judge. But apparently they didn't like that. So, you can watch it if you want, but honestly, I think it's a little sensationalized. He describes how he went into prison and how, he was bunked in one of the big major open rooms, not like an individual cell, but you'll see it, you see on TV, there's just this like bunk after bunk after bunk of like top and bottom bunk in a big open room. And, honestly, that kind of just sounds like boot camp to me. Not that bad, really, although I wouldn't want to be in prison. I'd much rather be anywhere else, really. So, unfortunate story, Roger Revere, but I don't know. So, either way, I think these prison times for Ulbricht and Gary Davis are way, way too much. I mean, like 20 years, baby, like something like that for money laundering and narcotics distribution, but life sentence is just crazy. It's really, really outrageous. And when the government really wants to crack down on you, they will. So moving on to the next story here. South Korea moving towards cryptocurrency acceptance, even though they kind of already are, but this is really regulation. So reported that Korean regulators had agreed to apply to G20's set of unified regulations in regard to cryptocurrencies. So a quote here, it's almost certain that cryptocurrencies will be classified as assets, and the main issue will be centered on how to regulate them properly under the unified frame that will be agreed upon between G20 nations. Given the current stance, this isn't good, but we will step up efforts to improve things. So it is what it is. So now it's reported that the country's regulators are indeed set to ease regulations regarding cryptocurrencies. So that's good. So they want to unify with G20, but they also want to make it easier at the same time. So they might just like unify to get a good stance on crypto and then start to ease up on the regulations, because South Korea is really, really obsessed with cryptocurrency. I think the won is the #1 traded fiat currency to cryptocurrencies, if I'm not mistaken. It is up there if it's not the #1. So one of the officials told oldest English language newspaper in South Korea, the FSC made revisions to its rules to apply strengthened policies in order to prevent or detect money laundering and illegal activities, because the regulator isn't opposed to cryptocurrencies. So another official said, establish unified rules is a complicated issue given the broader range of assessments between government agencies. This is why the country needs dose international cooperation, as it is still in the early stages of fine-tuning guidelines. Another quote here, any major reversal in policies is unlikely, but the government seems to believe a gradual shift in attitude toward crypto-based assets is needed. So what regulators should do is figure out how to regulate them properly and prudently, as Korea needs to be put more emphasis on blockchain technology after obtaining know-how and understanding of the possible flip side of cryptocurrency trading. So what that sounds like to me is that they definitely want to regulate. They kind of want to get with the G20, with all nations, and regulate sort of in a very broad way, in a very unified way for all countries. And then it seems like they kind of want to ease those regulations, so they kind of want to get a nice position first, where it's kind of all just really laid out for them, and then they can individually remove regulations or individually add them, because cryptocurrency in South Korea is huge, really huge. It's really difficult to get the won in and out of Korea, or rather other fiat into Korea and the won out, etc. You get what I'm saying? And that's why whenever you see on CoinMarketCap and stuff, you see these Korean exchanges, you see like these Korean exchanges in the prices. So we can take a look here on CoinMarketCap, and wherever the biggest price is for Bitcoin is usually on a Korean exchange, and they get higher. And there's not too many good examples right now. Hitbit a little bit higher and stuff. So interesting variation in price there. It's really weird. Let's check the number one here. So there's not too much variation in price right now, actually, which is really surprising. But normally the Korean exchanges are valued much higher, and maybe I'm just I don't have anything set up right now, so it's easier said than done, eh? But Koreans, that's why they were removed from CoinMarketCap, the Korean exchanges, because they were valued way too high. If Bitcoin was at 7,000, they were at like 7,500. And it was just really skewing the average of Bitcoin because nobody could really get onto those Korean exchanges. So, if the price of Bitcoin was said to be so much higher and then you get on another exchange, it really takes the validity away from CoinMarketCap, even though some people have some problems with CoinMarketCap. That's a different story. So moving on here, cryptocurrency miners promise economic opportunity, but not everyone is so optimistic. So this is a kind of a long article. It's not too long, but again, all these articles will be in the description below if you want to fully read them. So the story goes that nestled right between the Sea of Japan and the Raihaku Mountains, if I said that right, doesn't matter. The city of Fukui is not necessarily a tourist hotspot, but Fukui, if I'm saying it right, I don't know Japanese, man, I don't know Japanese, has started to become known across the world for another reason. Cheap rental prices and inexpensive electricity have driven cryptocurrency miners to the seaside city, and some residents are hoping more will come to set up shop. So a former Lay city in the city, roughly 250,000 people, is now home to a bustling virtual currency mine. So a Tokyo-based company called Alt Design is in charge of operating the 500 servers that should theoretically churn out about 200 Ethereum coins per month. Well, no, not really servers, but miners. I suppose that's just written a little wrong. Fukui City has been trying to attract technology companies. It currently pays 50% of the rent if a business chooses to move into unused factory space, which is good because you're incentivizing people to move into your factory space and pay you rent and electricity. That's great. But the problem here is that, not everybody is so optimistic. And I think I'm one of those people. The thing is I fully support cryptocurrency mining, but the problem is that, this city is really hoping that a lot of cryptocurrency miners is going to come there to help their economic status a little bit. And that's all said and good. That hope is all said and good. The problem is that cryptocurrency mining employs very, very little people and takes a ton of electricity. So yeah, sure, that electricity bill is being paid by the miners, but the thing is, you can run a giant mining operation with just a few people. It might take a few more people to actually set it up, to help set it up, because of all the work needs to be done and all the unpacking and all the wire laying and whatnot. Setting up the routers, setting up the miners, etc. But then once that's all set up, really just a few people could essentially run a huge warehouse of miners, even in shifts, even just one person or two people at a time, depending on your needs and the shift requirements, whatever, because one good administrator could run probably a whole warehouse, if not just two people at a time. If one miner goes down, you problem solve, you troubleshoot it. Why is it going down? Is it burned out? Do I need to send this card back to the manufacturer and get a new graphics card? Do I need to send my ASIC back to Bitmain or whatever and get it fixed and then get it back? That's really it. And just making sure that everything is operable. This isn't like a huge operation where you're needing to hire many people. So I like to use the idea of an aluminum foundry, where people are smelting aluminum and doing work and creating things with the aluminum or shipping it off as bars or whatever. So both of them take the same amount of electricity. A whole mining warehouse takes the same amount as a huge factory smelting aluminum or steel or something like that, is equivalent in electricity. And one employs just a few people, and then one employs possibly hundreds of people to do the job. So there's a big difference. And while I fully support cryptocurrency mining, and I fully support even large-scale cryptocurrency mining, but the thing is, if they come to your city, or you're hoping that they're going to come to your city, by giving them cheap electricity costs, it's really not going to bring you that much. It's just going to take a bunch of your electricity. Sure, you'll get some money by renting out some factories, some unused factory space, and your money going to the local electricity plant, but that's honestly about it. In some taxes, it's really not employing people. It's not sending the person that's sitting on the couch unemployed hoping for a job. It's not sending them to work. So don't get your hopes up, Fukui, if I'm saying that right. I'm gonna say it's Fukui for sure. I know somebody's gonna correct me though. So the next article here, Bitcoin trading in Chinese currency drops below 1% of the world total. So China not doing so hot in terms of cryptocurrency, although there still is a lot of underground trading and peer-to-peer trading, but for the most part, the exchange is not doing so good. So Bitcoin trading in the renminbi, the RMB, has dropped to less than 1% of the global total. The Central Bank of China announced, so the People's Republic banned yuan crypto trade last year, prompting the exodus of hundreds of Chinese crypto businesses, including some of the world's leading trading platforms. The trading of Bitcoin with the Chinese national currency, the renminbi, has fallen to less than 1% of the world's total. So the People's Bank of China announced this Friday, quoted by Xinhua, at its peak, the RMB BTC trade reached more than 90% of the volume, and this is why Bitcoin went from 5,000 to 3,000. I think it was back in September 2017, because it was banned, and that 90% volume sunk. So the state-controlled news agency noted in its report, without detailing the data, in September 2017, okay, well, there was right there. To September 2017, Beijing authorities imposed a ban on the trading of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin with the Chinese yuan, referring to the presumed financial risk associated with the rapidly expanding crypto market. The measure also prohibited Chinese businesses from conducting crowdfunding campaigns through initial coin offerings. And so let's have some fun. Let's take a look at that real quick. I will show you. Come, I show them to you. So take a look at September 2017 here. And so this is approximately where we got. We got to just about 5,000. I remember it was 4,900 something. And then the Chinese ban occurred, and it just really rocked the whole economy down to about $3,000. So about round it to 5,000 to 3,000. I mean, that's a pretty tremendous dip there. That is nearly a 50% dip in Bitcoin, and so we've seen bigger ones, but the Chinese one really rocked it permanently. And if China came back and decided, hey, you could use the yuan, you could use the renminbi, whatever, bringing back all the exchanges, Bitcoin would shoot up by many thousands within a week or two, at least. So you could see just the big problem that occurred, or that caused. So PRC regulators imposed a comprehensive ban on Bitcoin in 2017 when they ordered local exchanges to suspend their operations, and the authorities in the People's Republic also tried to block access to foreign cryptocurrency trading platforms offering services to Chinese residents. And the restrictions encompass the crypto yuan trade, hitting some of the world's largest trading platforms. So no more BTC to yuan. The ban forced exchanges with Chinese roots like Huobi, OKCoin, and Binance to halt all trading in the country and seek to relocate to more favorable jurisdictions. And the trading platforms founded new entities and opened offices in Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, the United States, which allowed them to continue their activities and even grow significantly. So Hong Kong is a city-state in China, so there's China and then there's Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is China, but China is not Hong Kong, kind of thing. They use their own money, you know, and they have their own regulations. It's a city-state, just like Singapore City, and so they were able to continue there, but not with the yuan or anything like that. So they were continue to operate, but just with US dollar and Bitcoin pairing and things like that. So it really hurt the world. And the Indian ban also hurt a little bit. It didn't really show it too much in the price of Bitcoin, as we are at 6,800 now, and we're actually still going up. So it really didn't hurt that bad, but it's still not good that all of India cannot really deal with Bitcoin in a very easy way. Even if the government bans Bitcoin, sure, you can still kind of trade it to some degree. You can kind of do it under the radar, but without the exchanges and without that backing by the government, and it really stymies cryptocurrency. So we're at 6,800 here, $276 billion market cap. Gotta love that refresh. Always changes. So we are moving up, and we are moving up slowly. It's fairly stagnant, but we are moving up, and as long as it remains a pretty slow movement, that's pretty good. But if we shoot up to like 14,000 in just a few days, you can pretty much bet on a nice little crash following after. So slow movement is good movement. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and as usual, I'll see you guys next time.